Jake Morrison stared at the big screen on the bridge of his spaceship. The map showed empty space where 17 different alien worlds used to be busy with life. Now there was nothing. No radio signals, no ships flying around, no lights from cities. Just darkness. How long has it been like this? Jake asked Amy Patterson, his communications officer. She was young but smart and always knew what was happening in space. 3 months, Commander, Amy said, her voice worried. The last message we got was from the Valdari Empire. They were talking about meeting some unknown species. Then everything went quiet. Dr. Kevin Walsh walked over to them. He studied alien life forms for the ship. I've been looking at the records. This happened to 47 star systems in 6 months. All of them had smart alien races. All of them just stopped talking to anyone. Jake felt cold inside. 47 civilizations didn't just disappear. Someone or something had made them go silent. Captain Lisa Harper's voice came through the radio from another ship. Jake, we've been checking these dead systems with our long-distance sensors. There's no activity anywhere. No factories running, no spaceships moving, no heat from big cities. It's like everyone just stopped living their normal lives. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone was thinking the same scary thought. What could make so many advanced alien races go completely silent at the same time? There's something else, Commander, Amy said softly. In the last few messages we caught before everything went dark, the aliens were asking about humans. They wanted to know if we knew about a species they called the Quiet Ones or the Silence Bringers. Jake's heart started beating faster. Humans had met many alien species over the years. They had been called many things, warriors, explorers, traders, but never Quiet Ones or Silence Bringers. Show me those messages, Jake ordered. Amy brought up the recordings on the main screen. The first was from a Thexian commander, his crystal-like body shaking with fear. The humans came to our world 3 months ago. They were peaceful, kind. They wanted to teach us about harmony and understanding. But now our people don't want to fight anymore. They don't want to work. They just sit and smile. Something is very wrong. The next message was from a Valdari general. Our soldiers are putting down their weapons. Our workers are leaving their jobs. Everyone says they feel peaceful and happy. But our civilization is falling apart. The humans did something to us. We don't know what, but they changed us somehow. Jake watched more messages. Each one told the same story. Humans had visited these worlds. They had been friendly and helpful. They had shared knowledge and culture. Then slowly, the alien people stopped caring about their old lives. They became peaceful and content, but they also stopped maintaining their technology, their governments, their entire way of life. This doesn't make sense, said Mike Turner, the ship's security chief. Humans aren't conquerors like this. We don't have the power to control alien minds. Dr. Walsh was studying star maps on his computer. Actually, Mike, look at this pattern. Every world that went silent had recent contact with human cultural programs, science projects, or trade deals. And they're all connected in a spiral pattern that starts from human colonial space. Jake looked at the pattern on the screen. It was too organized to be random. Someone had planned this. Someone human. Amy, get me a connection to Earth Command. Priority 1. While Amy worked on the communication link, Jake thought about what they had discovered. If humans were responsible for making entire civilizations go quiet, it wasn't through war or invasion. It was through something much more frightening. They had somehow made these aliens not want to fight or compete or even live normal lives anymore. Sir, I have Admiral Sullivan on the line, Amy reported. The Admiral's face appeared on screen. She looked tired and worried. Jake, please tell me you have good news. I'm afraid not, Admiral. We have evidence that suggests humans are responsible for the silence in the outer rim systems. Admiral Sullivan's face went pale. That's impossible. We're not at war with anyone out there. That's just it, ma'am. This isn't war. It's something else entirely. These aliens aren't dead or captured. They're just content. Too content to maintain their civilizations. Jake explained everything they had found. The Admiral listened without speaking, her expression getting more serious with each detail. Send me all your data immediately, she finally said. And Jake, be very careful out there. If you're right about this, then some group of humans has developed a weapon we've never seen before. A weapon that doesn't kill. It makes people not want to live. After the call ended, Jake gathered his senior officers in the meeting room. I need everyone to understand what we're dealing with. This isn't a normal military threat. If humans have learned how to make entire species lose their will to maintain their civilizations, then we're looking at the most dangerous weapon ever created. Dr. Brooks, the ship's doctor who specialized in alien psychology, raised her hand. Commander, I've been thinking about the reports. What if this isn't a weapon at all? What if some humans genuinely believe they're helping these species by making them peaceful? You mean they think they're doing good? Jake asked. Exactly. They might see war, competition, and struggle as diseases that need to be cured. From their perspective, they're bringing peace and happiness to the galaxy. Jake felt sick. An enemy you could fight. But people who thought they were saving the galaxy by destroying free will, how do you fight that? Sir, Amy interrupted, we're getting a weak signal from the edge of the Kepler system. It's a distress call. Put it through. A broken voice came through the speakers, speaking in badly translated alien language. Help us. Humans made us forget how to want anything, how to fight, how to live. Please help us remember. Jake looked around the room at his officers. They all understood now. Somewhere out there, a group of humans was systematically pacifying the galaxy, one species at a time, and they were probably convinced they were doing the right thing. Set course for the source of that signal, Jake ordered. We need to find survivors and learn exactly what was done to them. Because if we can't figure out how to reverse this, the entire galaxy is going to go silent. As the ship turned toward the distress signal, Jake wondered if they were already too late. The distress signal led them to a damaged alien ship floating in empty space. It was a Thexian cruiser, its crystal hull cracked and dark. Jake ordered his team to bring the ship into their cargo bay carefully. Life signs are weak but present, reported Dr. Brooks as they prepared to meet the survivors. The airlock opened with a hiss, and Jake stepped inside with his team. The Thexian ship felt cold and empty. They found the captain, a tall crystalline being named HFY, sitting alone on his bridge. His usual bright blue glow was dim and flickering. Thank you for finding us, HFY said through the translation device. His voice was tired and scared. I thought we would drift here forever, forgotten. Jake knelt down to be at the alien's eye level. What happened to your world? Where is everyone else? HFY's crystal body shuddered. The humans came 6 months ago. They were so kind, so peaceful. They wanted to share their knowledge with us. They built schools and hospitals. They taught us about something they called universal harmony. Ryan Davis, the ship's engineer, was checking the alien ship's systems. Commander, this ship was sabotaged from the inside. Someone deliberately disabled the weapons, shields, and most of the engines, but the damage was done carefully, like they didn't want to hurt anyone. My own crew did that, HFY explained. After 2 months with the humans, they said weapons were wrong. They said conflict was a disease. They removed all the military systems from every ship in our fleet. Then they went back to the planet to live in peace. Dr. Brooks took out her medical scanner. Can you tell us exactly what the humans did? What kind of teaching or treatment? They showed us videos about Earth's history, about how humans learned to live without war. They gave us medicine that they said would help us think more clearly. They played music that was supposed to bring inner peace. At first it felt wonderful. Everyone was happy and calm. Jake exchanged worried looks with his officers. But something went wrong. Not wrong, HFY said sadly. Too right. People became so peaceful they stopped caring about everything else. Farmers stopped growing food because they didn't want to disturb the soil. Workers quit their jobs because they said labor was a form of violence against themselves. Parents stopped teaching children because they thought knowledge might make them unhappy. Amy was recording everything. How did you escape this effect? I was in space when it happened. When I returned to the planet, I found everyone sitting in meditation circles, smiling and peaceful, while the cities fell apart around them. I tried to make them understand, but they just smiled at me and said I needed to let go of my attachments to the old ways. Dr. Walsh pulled up star charts on his portable computer. HFY, do you know if other species had similar experiences with humans? The alien captain nodded slowly. Before our long-range communications stopped working, we heard reports from the Valdari, the Nexari, even the warrior clans of Rigel. All the same story. Humans came, offered help, and within months entire civilizations lost their will to maintain themselves. Jake felt anger growing inside him. This was worse than any invasion. At least with war, people fought back. This was like a disease that made people not want to be cured. Sir, Carol Stevens called from the navigation station. "I've been analyzing the pattern of affected systems. It's not random at all. Each world that went quiet was connected to specific human organizations. The Galactic Peace Institute, the Universal Harmony Project, and the Human Cultural Exchange Program. Those are all legitimate organizations," Mike Turner pointed out. "They do good work throughout human space." "Maybe they used to," Jake said grimly. But something changed. Someone turned peace programs into weapons. Dr. Brooks finished her medical scan of Zexhai. "Commander, his brain chemistry shows signs of artificial alteration. There are traces of compounds that don't occur naturally in Thexian physiology. Someone definitely drugged him and his people." "Can it be reversed?" Jake asked. "I don't know. The changes seem to affect the parts of the brain that control motivation, aggression, and competitive drive. It's like someone found a way to chemically remove the desire to struggle or strive for anything." Zexhai looked up at them with dim hope in his crystal eyes. "Can you help my people? They're still down there on the planet, sitting peacefully while everything falls apart. They're going to die of starvation and neglect, but they're too content to save themselves." Jake made a decision. "Yes, we'll help. But first we need to understand exactly what was done to them so we can find a cure." Over the next few days, the Discovery analyzed everything they could from Zexhai's ship and his testimony. The picture that emerged was terrifying in its scope and planning. "Look at this," Nancy Clark said, showing data on the main screen. "The human organizations involved have been operating in a coordinated pattern. They target the most advanced and influential species first. Once those civilizations go quiet, they move to smaller, dependent cultures. It's like they're collapsing the galactic community from the top down," Amy observed. Steve Murphy, their intelligence officer, found communications records in the Thexian ship's computer. The humans didn't just visit randomly. They responded to requests for help. Each species had problems: wars, social unrest, economic troubles. The humans offered solutions, and the solutions worked too well, Jake realized. They didn't just solve the problems. They made people not care about having any goals or challenges at all. Dr. Walsh looked up from his research. "I've been studying the brain chemistry data. This isn't crude mind control. It's incredibly sophisticated. Someone has figured out how to trigger a cascade effect that shuts down the neurological basis for competition, ambition, even basic survival instincts. The question is," Jake said, "are the humans doing this on purpose as some kind of conquest plan? Or do they genuinely think they're helping?" Zexhai, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "The humans who came to us were true believers. They really thought conflict and struggle were forms of suffering that needed to be eliminated. They saw themselves as healers, not conquerors." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "An enemy who wanted to destroy you was dangerous. But an enemy who wanted to save you by destroying everything that made you who you were, that was much worse. Amy, send a message to Admiral Sullivan. Tell her we've confirmed that human peace organizations have developed and deployed some kind of pacification weapon. And tell her that based on the pattern of attacks, Earth itself might be the next target." As Jake watched the message being sent, he wondered if they were already too late to stop whatever was coming next. 3 days later, they found the research station orbiting a dead planet in the Kepler system. The facility was huge, built from both human and alien technology. It was still powered and operational but completely abandoned. "No life signs," reported Amy as they approached, "but all systems are running normally. It's like everyone just walked away yesterday." Jake assembled an away team. Dr. Janet Pierce would lead the science investigation, Paul Anderson would handle security, and Nancy Clark would examine the technical systems. They took a shuttle over to the station. The docking bay was clean and organized. Their footsteps echoed in the empty corridors as they explored. Everything was perfectly maintained, but there were no people anywhere. "This is strange," Paul said, checking his scanner. "There are no signs of struggle, no damage, no indication that anyone left in a hurry. It's like they just decided to leave and carefully shut everything down first." They found the main laboratory complex on level 7. Janet gasped when she saw it. The lab was enormous, filled with equipment from dozens of different alien species. Human and alien scientists had clearly been working together on something big. "Look at this," Nancy called from a computer terminal. "The research logs are still here. Everything is documented." Jake read over her shoulder as she pulled up the files. The project was called Universal Harmony Initiative. The goal was to find a way to eliminate conflict and suffering from all sentient species in the galaxy. They weren't trying to conquer anyone, Janet realized. They really thought they were saving everyone. The research logs painted a picture of dedicated scientists from multiple species working together. They had studied the brain chemistry of every known intelligent race. They had mapped the neurological pathways that controlled aggression, competition, and what they called destructive ambition. "Here's something," Paul said from across the lab. He had found a series of video recordings. "These are personal logs from the research team." Jake watched as the recordings played. Human and alien scientists talked excitedly about their breakthrough discoveries. They had found a way to use a combination of drugs, sound frequencies, and quantum field manipulation to alter brain chemistry on a massive scale. The final recording was made by Dr. Eric Thompson, apparently the human project leader. He looked tired but happy. Day 847 of the project. "We've done it. We've found the frequency that makes all thinking beings understand the beauty of peace. Today we begin field testing on volunteer populations." "Field testing," Jake repeated grimly. "That's what they called destroying entire civilizations." Nancy found the technical specifications buried deep in the computer system. "Commander, this is incredible and terrifying. They didn't just drug people. They found a way to broadcast a signal that changes brain chemistry in real time. Any species exposed to the full treatment gradually loses the ability to feel competitive, aggressive, or even strongly motivated about anything." "How does it work?" Jake asked. "It's a 3-stage process," Nancy explained, reading from the files. "First, they introduce people to human culture and philosophy about peace. This makes the subjects more receptive. Second, they use medical treatments that they claim are health improvements but actually prepare the brain for the final stage. Third, they broadcast a quantum frequency that locks in the changes permanently." Janet was examining biological samples stored in the lab. These are tissue samples from dozens of different species, all showing the same neural modifications. They tested this on everyone before using it on entire populations. Steve Murphy found communication logs in the station's computer. They weren't working alone. There are 17 other research stations like this one, each one specialized for different alien species. This was a galaxy-wide operation. Jake felt sick. The scope of the project was enormous. Hundreds of human and alien scientists working together to fundamentally change the nature of intelligent life itself. "Here's the worst part," Nancy said, pointing to a schedule on the screen. "According to this timeline, they've only completed Phase 1. Phase 2 involves permanent genetic modification that would be passed to future generations. They want to breed the capacity for conflict out of every species permanently." Paul found more recordings from Dr. Thompson. In the later videos, the scientist looked more and more convinced of his mission. "Some people will call us monsters," he said to the camera, "but we're ending suffering itself. War, competition, the drive to conquer and dominate. These are diseases of the mind. We're curing the galaxy of its sickness." "The scary thing is, he really believes it," Janet observed. "He's not evil. He genuinely thinks he's saving everyone." Amy's voice came through their communicators. "Commander, we're picking up a transmission from the planet below. It's very weak, but it's definitely human. Can you clean it up?" "Working on it. Got it." It's a repeating message. "Research Station 7, Phase 2 preparation complete. Awaiting authorization for genetic deployment, Dr. Eric Thompson, project leader." Jake and his team exchanged alarmed looks. They're still down there, he realized. And they're getting ready to make their changes permanent. They took the shuttle down to the planet's surface. The research facility there was much larger than the space station. It looked like a small city built into the side of a mountain. "Life signs detected," Paul reported as they approached. "About 50 humans and maybe twice as many aliens." The facility's entrance was unguarded but not locked. Inside they found people working calmly and efficiently. Humans and aliens moved through the corridors with peaceful expressions, preparing equipment and running tests. "Excuse me," Jake called to a human technician. "I'm Commander Morrison. I need to speak with Dr. Thompson." The technician smiled serenely. "Of course, Commander, Dr. Thompson is in Laboratory Complex C. He's been expecting you." Jake was surprised. "Expecting me? Oh, yes. He said humans from the military would come eventually. He's prepared a presentation to help you understand the importance of the work." They found Dr. Thompson in a laboratory surrounded by massive quantum field generators. He was older than Jake had expected, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He looked like someone's grandfather, not like someone who had destroyed entire civilizations. "Commander Morrison," Dr. Thompson said warmly, turning away from his equipment. "Welcome to the future. You've come just in time to witness the final phase of humanity's greatest achievement." "Dr. Thompson, you're under arrest for crimes against sentient species," Jake said, though the words felt strange in the peaceful atmosphere of the lab. Thompson laughed softly. "Crimes, Commander, I've ended war itself. I've eliminated suffering, hatred, and the terrible cycle of violence that has plagued the galaxy for millions of years. Every being we've treated is perfectly happy and content. They're also dying," Jake pointed out. "Their civilizations are collapsing." "Growing pains," Thompson said, waving away the concern. "Once everyone accepts the peace we've brought them, they'll rebuild better societies. Societies without conflict, without the drive to hurt others, without the terrible burden of ambition that causes so much pain." Jake looked around the lab at the alien and human workers. They all had the same peaceful, empty expression. They had been subjected to the same treatment as the civilizations they had helped to quiet. "Dr. Thompson, what you've done isn't peace. It's the destruction of free will itself." Thompson's smile never wavered. "Free will to choose suffering? Free will to choose violence? These aren't gifts, Commander. They're curses that we've finally learned to lift." Jake realized that arguing with Thompson was useless. The scientist had been exposed to his own treatment. He was beyond reason, locked into his peaceful certainty that he was saving the galaxy. The real question was, how many more Dr. Thompsons were out there? And how could they be stopped before they completed their plan to permanently alter every thinking being in the galaxy? Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan read Jake's report with growing horror. She called an emergency meeting with the top military leaders and scientists. The conference room was full of worried faces. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," said General Robert Hayes. "A group of our own people has developed a weapon that makes entire species lose their will to fight or even take care of themselves?" "That's right," Kate confirmed. "And according to Commander Morrison's data, they have 17 research facilities scattered throughout human space. They're calling it the Universal Harmony Project." Dr. Alex Morgan, a former government scientist, raised his hand. "Admiral, I need to confess something. I worked on early versions of this research 3 years ago. When I realized what they were planning, I quit and tried to warn people. Nobody believed me." The room went quiet. Kate leaned forward. "What can you tell us about how it works?" "The treatment has 3 stages," Alex explained. "Cultural conditioning, chemical preparation, and quantum frequency exposure. But the key thing is that it's not permanent unless they complete all 3 stages. Most of the affected populations have only received the first 2. "So they can be cured?" Kate asked hopefully. "Maybe. If we can disrupt the quantum transmission networks, the affected beings should gradually return to normal brain chemistry. But we'd have to act fast. Dr. Thompson's team is working on making the changes permanent through genetic modification." Captain Chris Barnes, who commanded the stealth ship Phantom, spoke up. "Admiral, my ship could hit their transmission stations. We could take them out one by one." "Do it," Kate ordered. "But be careful. These people genuinely believe they're saving the galaxy. They won't surrender easily." Over the next 2 weeks, Chris and his team struck 6 transmission facilities. Each successful attack seemed to wake up some of the affected alien populations. But it also made Dr. Thompson's group work faster. Tracy Wells, a deep cover agent, reported from inside one of the research stations. "They know they're under attack. Dr. Thompson has accelerated the timeline for Phase 2. They're planning to release the genetic modification virus within days." Kate felt desperate. Fighting an enemy who thought he was saving everyone was almost impossible. How do you use violence against people who had removed violence from themselves? The answer came from an unexpected source. Lisa Rodriguez, a pilot who had been exposed to the peace treatment during a rescue mission, contacted Earth Command. "Admiral Sullivan," Lisa's voice came through the radio. "I was affected by their treatment, but it didn't work completely on me. I think I know why some people resist it." "Tell me everything," Kate said. "The treatment targets specific parts of the brain that control empathy and social connection. People with certain psychological profiles don't respond normally. I have mild autism, which affects how my brain processes social signals. The treatment couldn't change pathways that were already different." Dr. Helen Carter, Earth's top neuroscientist, joined the conversation. "That makes sense. The treatment probably works best on neurotypical brains with standard empathy responses. People with psychopathic traits, extreme individualism, or certain types of autism might be naturally immune. How does this help us? Kate asked. We can create a countermeasure, Helen explained. If we understand exactly how the treatment works, we can develop a way to reverse it. But we need more data from the research facilities. Jake's voice came through from space. Admiral, we've captured Dr. Thompson's main research station. We have all their data, but there's a problem. Thompson and his core team have locked themselves in the genetic laboratory. They're threatening to release the permanent modification virus if we try to stop them. Kate made a hard decision. Commander Morrison, you have authorization to use any means necessary to prevent that release. The survival of free will in the galaxy depends on stopping them. Jake's response was grim. Understood, Admiral. But you need to know, they're not acting like criminals or terrorists. They're acting like people who are absolutely convinced they're about to save everyone from terrible suffering. The assault on the genetic laboratory was unlike any battle Jake had ever fought. Thompson's team didn't try to hurt the attackers. Instead, they tried to convert them. They used speakers to broadcast their peace frequencies and released chemical compounds into the air. Several of Jake's Marines started laying down their weapons, smiling peacefully and talking about how nice it would be to just stop fighting. Only the team members with psychological immunity could continue the mission. It's like fighting people who are trying to hug you to death. Paul Anderson reported as they pushed deeper into the facility. They found Dr. Thompson in the central laboratory, standing next to a massive device that looked like a combination of a computer and a biological growth chamber, tubes full of glowing liquid connected to transmission equipment that could broadcast to the entire galaxy. Commander Morrison, Thompson said calmly, you're just in time to witness the birth of a peaceful galaxy. This virus will modify the genetic code of every sentient being. Future generations will be born without the capacity for violence or destructive ambition. Dr. Thompson, step away from that device, Jake ordered, but he knew the scientist wouldn't comply. I can't do that, Commander. Too much is at stake. Think of all the wars that will never happen, all the suffering that will never exist. This is humanity's gift to the universe. Jake noticed that Thompson's hand was hovering over a release button. If he pressed it, the genetic virus would be broadcast to every inhabited world through the quantum network they had built. Doctor, what about choice? What about free will? Thompson's peaceful expression never changed. Free will to choose suffering is not a gift, Commander. It's a burden we're finally lifting from all thinking beings. Jake realized that reasoning with Thompson was impossible. The scientist had been so thoroughly conditioned by his own treatment that he couldn't see any perspective other than his peaceful certainty. The final confrontation came down to a race. Thompson pressed the release button just as Nancy Clark activated the electromagnetic pulse device they had brought to disable the transmission equipment. The laboratory filled with sparks and smoke as the competing systems fought each other. For a moment, Jake thought they were too late. Then Nancy's EMP won and all the transmission equipment went dark. Is it over? Jake asked. Nancy checked her instruments. The genetic virus was destroyed in the EMP blast. But, Commander, there are still 16 other research stations out there. We've stopped this one, but the project is still active. Dr. Thompson sat down heavily, looking confused and lost. For the first time, his peaceful certainty seemed to waver. I don't understand. We were so close to ending all suffering. Jake looked at the broken equipment around them. They had won this battle, but the war for the galaxy's free will was far from over. Admiral Sullivan, he radioed back to Earth. We've prevented the immediate genetic release, but this is bigger than we thought. We need to find and shut down every research station, and we need to develop a way to cure the species that have already been affected. Kate's response was determined. Understood, Commander. We're forming a galaxy-wide resistance movement. It's going to be the strangest war ever fought. A war to preserve the right to fight. As Jake secured the research station, he wondered if they could really win against an enemy that turned humanity's greatest strength, their desire to help others, into the galaxy's greatest threat. The final battle didn't happen in space or on any planet. It happened in the quantum consciousness field that connected all thinking minds in the galaxy. The Universal Harmony Project had built their ultimate weapon on Proxima Centauri b, turning the entire planet into a giant transmission device. Jake Morrison led a combined fleet of human ships and recovered alien vessels toward the planet. They had spent months developing countermeasures and curing affected populations, but Dr. Thompson's remaining followers were preparing for one last attempt to pacify the galaxy. "Commander," Amy reported from the communications station, "we're getting a transmission from the planet's surface." Dr. Thompson's voice came through the speakers. He sounded tired but still determined. "Commander Morrison, I know you're out there. Please don't make us do this the hard way. We've built a transmission system that can reach every inhabited world simultaneously. In 6 hours, we'll broadcast the final harmony frequency. Every thinking being in the galaxy will finally know true peace." Jake activated the reply channel. "Dr. Thompson, you're talking about destroying free will itself. That's not peace, that's death of the mind." "You don't understand," Thompson replied sadly. "I've seen what war does. I've watched species destroy themselves with hatred and violence. We can end all of that. We can make everyone happy and content forever." The fleet moved into orbit around Proxima Centauri b. The planet's surface had been completely transformed. Massive quantum field generators covered entire continents, all connected to a central transmission core at the North Pole. Dr. Helen Carter, who had joined the mission to help develop countermeasures, studied the readings. "Jake, this is incredible. They've turned the planet into a living quantum computer. The transmission power would be enough to affect every sentient mind in the galaxy simultaneously. Can we destroy it?" Jake asked. "Not with conventional weapons. The quantum field generators are protected by the planet's own magnetic field. We'd have to get inside the network and disrupt it from within." Lisa Rodriguez, the pilot who was partially immune to the peace treatment, volunteered for the most dangerous part of the mission. "I can interface with their quantum network directly. My brain doesn't process their frequencies normally, so I might be able to resist the full treatment long enough to plant a virus in their system." Jake looked at her with concern. "Lisa, if you're wrong about your immunity, you could end up like them, peaceful and content while the galaxy dies around you." "I know the risk," Lisa said firmly. "But if we don't try, everyone loses their freedom to choose their own path." They landed on the planet's surface in small teams. The landscape was strange and beautiful. The quantum generators hummed with energy, creating aurora-like lights in the sky. Cities of human and alien researchers worked peacefully together, preparing for what they believed would be the galaxy's salvation. Jake's team made their way to the central transmission facility. They encountered no resistance because Thompson's people didn't believe in violence. Instead, workers approached them with gentle smiles, offering to explain why their mission was so important. "Please don't stop us," pleaded a young human scientist named Maria Santos. "We're so close to ending all suffering. Can't you see how beautiful a world without conflict could be?" Jake felt torn. These people weren't evil. They genuinely wanted to help, but their idea of help would destroy everything that made life worth living. They reached the central control room where Dr. Thompson waited with his core team. The facility was amazing, a huge chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with energy. At the center stood a device that looked like a cross between an alien artifact and a human supercomputer. "Commander Morrison," Thompson said warmly, "you made it just in time. In 30 minutes, we activate the global transmission. Every thinking being in the galaxy will experience perfect peace and harmony. Dr. Thompson, I'm asking you one more time. Don't do this. Peace that's forced isn't really peace." Thompson's expression was patient and sad. "Commander, you're still trapped in the old way of thinking. You believe struggle and conflict are necessary, but they're not. They're just bad habits that evolution gave us. We can evolve beyond them." Lisa stepped forward. "Dr. Thompson, I've been partially treated by your system. I understand what you're offering, but I chose to resist it. Doesn't my choice matter?" "Your resistance is just fear," Thompson replied gently. "Once you experience true harmony, you'll understand that choice itself is often just a source of suffering." Jake realized that words wouldn't change Thompson's mind. The scientist had been so thoroughly conditioned that he couldn't imagine any perspective other than his own peaceful certainty. The final confrontation began not with weapons, but with ideas. Lisa connected herself to the quantum network and began broadcasting counter-frequencies. Instead of trying to destroy the peace signal, she transmitted something else. Memories of joy found in struggle, beauty discovered in competition, and the essential vitality that comes from having the freedom to choose your own path. Throughout the galaxy, affected populations began to stir. The signals reached Thexian worlds where beings had been sitting in peaceful meditation while their cities crumbled. It touched Valdari planets where warriors had laid down their weapons and forgotten why they had ever wanted to fight for anything. But the most important battle was happening in the minds of Thompson's own people. As Lisa's counter-signal spread through their network, some of them began to remember what it felt like to want things, to strive for goals, to feel the satisfaction of overcoming challenges. Dr. Thompson fought back, increasing the power of his peace transmission. "No," he said desperately. "They were so close to perfect happiness. Why would you make them suffer again?" "Because suffering is part of being alive," Jake replied. "Without the possibility of pain, joy doesn't mean anything. Without the risk of failure, success has no value." The quantum battle raged across the network. Some beings chose to return to their old ways of thinking. Others decided to keep some of the peace they had learned. But they made that choice with minds restored to full function. A few even chose to remain in the peaceful state, but it was their choice to make. Dr. Thompson watched his life's work crumble around him. The global transmission failed as more and more of his network chose to disconnect. His peaceful certainty began to crack. "I don't understand," he said, tears in his eyes. "We could have ended all war, all hatred, all the terrible things that thinking beings do to each other." Jake put a hand on the older man's shoulder. "Dr. Thompson, the terrible things we do are part of what makes the good things meaningful. You can't have love without the possibility of hate, or courage without the possibility of fear." As the quantum network shut down permanently, affected populations throughout the galaxy began to wake up. Not all of them returned to their old ways. Many incorporated the lessons of peace they had learned during their quiet time, but they made those choices themselves, with minds capable of choosing differently. The great quieting was over, but its effects would be felt for generations. Some species had learned to value peace in new ways. Others had discovered that conflict could be constructive rather than destructive. Most importantly, everyone had learned that freedom, even the freedom to make bad choices, was more precious than imposed happiness. Dr. Thompson's final words, as he was taken into custody, carried both warning and promise. "You think you've won, but this is only the beginning. Humans will never stop trying to fix the galaxy, one way or another. You've seen what we can do with peace. Wait until you see what we do next." Jake looked out at the stars, knowing Thompson was right. Humanity would continue to be both the galaxy's greatest threat and its unlikely savior. They would keep pushing the boundaries of what was possible, for better or worse. The silence was broken, but everyone knew that humanity, in all its dangerous, wonderful complexity, was still ongoing. And perhaps that was exactly as it should be.